This program is brought to you in part by Bonnell's Auto Group, including Bonnell's Collision, Bonnell's Auto Glass, Bonnell's Auto Sales, and Bonnell's Rod Shop. Information's at bonnellsauto.com.
Welcome to Customs, Coupes, and Classics, a television show where we will travel across the state of Pennsylvania to celebrate an American love affair, the automobile. I'm your host, Tim Piazza. It was an American graffiti world where your girl, your car, and your football, or maybe your surfboard, were the only things that mattered. For baby boomers, the car was a centerpiece of daily life, a symbol of freedom and individual identity. GTOs, 409s, Woodies, and Deuce Coupes helped to romanticize a pre-tech world where life was simple and cruising was cool. That gone-by era has given way to a much broader appreciation of cars as classics, which now encompasses every kind of vehicle, from antiques to European sports cars to the muscle car, classics of the 60s and 70s. Collectors from all walks of life continue to contribute to the revved-up world of automobiles. Today's program landed us in Erie, PA, a city that sits on the shores of beautiful Lake Erie, to visit a local car show called Cruise the Bay. We wanted to hear the stories of collectors and the history of the automobiles that they hold dear. It's a car show that's sure to tickle the fancy of any automobile aficionado. But before we get to the collectors and their prides and joy, let's learn a little more about Erie's Cruise the Bay. Here are the founders, Judy and Jack Miller.
Cruise the Bay started approximately, well, it'd be 12 years ago. Basically, it was a group of us who were sitting around talking, would like to see a car cruise in Erie, PA, just like we go to in Ashtabula and Conneaut, Ohio. And we were part of a club at the time, and the club said, go for it, try and do it. So we started looking at the Bayfront Park and Ride facility, got with the Port Authority of Erie, and it's history from there. After quite a few phone calls and requests and etc., that's how we got started. Our first year we only ran every other week and had about 8 shows that season, and got our got sponsors on board. And then from there we decided it was too hard going every other week. Because people were like, oh, which week is it that it's on, and which week, are they on?
People got on the weeks that we didn't have it, and people didn't come on the weeks we did have it. Yeah, it got kind of confusing the first year.
So the second year we went ahead and got enough sponsors to have it every single week. We start Monday before Memorial Day and end at the end of September. And this will be our 12th year coming up in 2016. People really like to come. They tell us it's the place to go on Monday night. So that's nice to know that, as long as the cars keep coming and we have helpers to keep it going, we'll keep going.
I think the one thing about the event, you have people that come down and they just come down to socialize. They all park together and they socialize. Some people come down for when we have entertainment like Elvis and stuff like that. Some people participate in the contest. Most people don't, but almost all the contests, everybody wants to watch. Nobody wants to participate, but they all want to watch. I mean, we'll have a huge crowd. It's something for everybody. It's, some people like the games, others don't be bothered, and that's fine. That's what it is, whatever you want it to be.
And it's a nice family fun night.
My name is Buddy Urso. I have a 1955 Chevy Bel Air. The story that I understand is that the car was restored in Canada. 2 gentlemen restored the car, brought it to Northeast Pennsylvania for a car show. They did have it for sale, and the gentleman that I bought the car from bought it for his wife. The bad news is they got divorced. He didn't want to sell the car, so the car sat in his garage for about 7 years. I got wind of the car and it took 2 years to get, but I finally got it, and it's just been an ongoing process from there. The condition of the car was pretty much the way it is now. All the paint work was done, most of the interior work was done. I replaced the carpet, a couple miscellaneous chrome items. Where the biggest changes was from the mechanical side of it. New engine, new training, new rear end, everything. Okay, the drivetrain is a 4.9-inch. I have 373 gears in it. It is an automatic. It's a 3-speed slapstick. The gears are 373s. When I first got the rear end, I had 411s in it. It was increasingly too loud at 25 miles an hour, so I opted to go to a lower gear. It's a 401 small block, dart block. Tregler's Precision is the one that built the motor for me. I like the car with no hoods on them, so I wanted to build a motor that I could show the motor with no hood on it. A lot of old school looks that I like to do. The paint is a 1988 torch red GM color. When I received the car, the paint work was good, but it's been sitting for 7 years, so I had to continuously work on it, wet sand it, rebuff it, bring it back to the luster that it is now. A lot of work, but it really paid off. The seats and the headliner, door panels, those were all finished when I got the car. The upholstery, the rug, I wanted to match the color a little bit better with the seats, and that's about what I did for the inside. The suspension is basically a stock suspension. It does have a 2-inch drop, lowered 2 inches. Still have the leaf springs on it. That's pretty much old school. Future of the car is basically want to continue adding, improving, keep the car up to date. This winter I sent off a lot of my engine accessories to get chromed. I'm going to be putting new rims and tires on it this year, and as long as the wife is okay with that, maybe a little bit more.
My name is Chuck Cast. My vehicle is a 1932 Ford 3-window coupe. It's an original Henry Ford. It's not a glass car. It's not a repop. It's an original car that's been hot rodded since basically around 1957. Well, the car came in from New York State in around 1956, and it belonged to a series of people, and a guy named Craig Bersky ended up buying it off of a gentleman that had a gas station at 26th and Washington in 57. And the initial transformation into a hot rod, as far as I know, from what I was told, was made at about that time. He drove the car to the GE as an everyday driver in the summertime. He was the original B and B&H Speed Shop. Now, sometime in the early 60s, and I believe, just going back, I believe that it had like a DeSoto Hemi in it at that time when he was driving to the General Electric. The car was sold to his partner at B&H Speed Shop, George Helsel, in around 64, but I'm not positive on that year, but it's somewhere in that vicinity. And George redid the car and put a Chrysler Hemi in it. And it's basically been that way, and it was a full fendered car until I purchased it from George's widow in 1993. And at that point, I cut the top on it, which to the chagrin of a few people. I cut the top on it, or I had the top cut. Kenny Prather cut the top for me, and put the car back together, because when I got it, it was a basket case. He was in the middle of changing a bunch of things on it, and he had a heart attack and died. So it took me roughly 4 years to put it back together. And it originally, when I put it back together, was a chopped top, but with full fenders and stuff on it, running boards. And when they changed the fender laws around, in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure how long ago that was, maybe 5-6 years ago. The fenders went bye-bye. So at that point, it became fenderless, which is the way I preferred. It makes the car look smaller and a little more hot roddy, in my opinion. But, you know, hot rods are kind of like people. Everybody's got an opinion on what one looks like. Some of them like that original look, some of them like the hot rodded look, you know, but they're all hot rods. So that's about it. The car we tried to do this vehicle, we tried to do it as a period car from the early 60s. It can't go back any earlier than 57 because that's what the motor is, obviously. But we tried to do it as an early 60s style hot rod. And back in the day, when these kids were doing these hot rods, is they put all their money in the powertrain, the suspension, the motors, and that. And they didn't have a whole lot of money left over for paint or some of them upholstery. So the money went into the motors, and then nobody cared about the paint. So that's basically the style that we tried to incorporate into it. The paint's black primer. It does have an upgraded but period correct interior in it. The paint, this last coat of paint, which was done probably 5 or 6 years ago, was put on by a friend of mine named Gary Oblowanik. And it was just, you know, sprayed in my garage. Like I said, nothing fancy because I'm not a wax on, wax off type of guy. So, well, the motor's a 58 Chrysler Hemi 392. It's got a 671 GMC blower on it. And topping that off is two 750 AFB style carburetors. Got a torque flight, 3-speed automatic behind it, and a winner's quick change in the back end to handle the gears. So I can take and swap the gear chains around if I want to drive it around town, or if I want to take it out on the highway to keep the RPM where I want it. Well, the suspension was originally had an equal length 4-bar in it. And coilovers in the back, and it had a 4-bar in the front. And I'm not a real big fan of 4 bars, so at least in the front suspension. That went away, and what I ended up doing was taking a 40 Ford wishbone and splitting it, okay, and moving the contact points out underneath the frame rails. And that's with a Traverse leaf spring. That's what the front suspension is. The rear suspension has got coilover shocks, okay? And I got away from the equal length 4-bar in the back and went to an unequal length 4-bar to try to pick some traction up on this thing. And I had to beef up the brackets that hold the rear suspension because the power to the engine was actually tearing the brackets off the frame. So I went through and cut all those brackets off and made new ones out of heavier material and then re-welded it all. Well, the interior was redone about this is the second season on it now. And a very good friend of mine, Terry Watson, I got together with him and I said, hey, would you like to redo my interior for me? And he says, yeah, I'll do it. And what do you got in mind? So we brainstormed on it, and I told him exactly what I wanted, how I wanted it, and he would come out to my garage, and we'd talk, and he brought swatches of different materials and stuff like that, and he says, you know what, I think this color really, really bangs it with the exterior color of the car. And I agree. I looked at it and I said, yeah, I like that a lot. It's a lot better than the bright red, which a lot of them have. So I gave him the seat, and he did the seat, and he started to do the rest of the door panels and the headliner and stuff like that. And he said, I really need the car at my house. This is taken. I said, fine. I'm more than willing to get it out there. So I got it out there, and a couple weeks later he says, hey, it's all done, come out and pick it up. And I love it. It's really, I'm getting a lot of compliments on it. So the interior at one time was white, or an off-white oyster color. And changing it all over to all red was, it really, bang, it knocks it down. So, I've been offered some pretty decent prices for the car. I don't really want to sell it at this time. I'm getting old enough that I really don't want to do another car. Don't have the energy to do it anymore. I'll hold on to it. If somebody comes up and makes me an offer of some stupid kind of money, it might go away.
My name's Jim Catrabone from Erie, Pennsylvania. I drive a 1955 Belvedere Custom. The car was a four-door made into a two-door. I found this car from a friend that built the car in Erie, and I've had it for 19 years. And he built it. He's the third owner. The first guy, like I said, he bought the car at Humes Chrysler. Then the gentleman that did all the customizing, make it into a two-door and chopping it and stretching it, Packard taillights, did the full-blown deal on the car, decided to sell it, which I was very surprised. I told my wife, if I ever built the car, just something happens to me, dump me in the carburetor and blow me out the tailpipe, because I would have never parted with that car. Fortunately enough, he did, and we've been happy to own it for 19 years. Yeah, the car has so many modifications on it from front to back, top to bottom. The car has been chopped 5.5 inches. All the bumpers front and back are de-chromed, welded to the frame and molded in. It's, like I said before, it was a four-door made into a two-door, which took a lot of different things to add. You had to have a donor car for chopping it, because once you chop a car, the roof falls right inside because it's straight up. So what you got to do is stretch it out so it hangs back where it's supposed to. So the donor car, he cut the old roof out, expanded that roof, original roof, 2.5 inches, and put that insert in, and then carried on right down the line from front to back, and put the Packard taillights in it, stretched it out the back. It's all stretched out, it's lowered. I could go on and on, but he just did a lot to that car, and it actually, it changed it. It changed it from being a family four-door to the car that it is today, and it's got a lot of awards from Plymouth Chrysler for excellence in engineering down to the nationals. It got, out of 8,000 cars, it got a pick, which was really surprising. And when I asked the guy, there were so many Mercs that they do that work to. They do it to Mercury's, Fords, and Chevys. And I said, there were so many, out of 8,000 cars, there was customers all over the place. And I says, how come you picked this car? He says, how many out of 8,000 cars here have you seen that done to a Plymouth? And say no more. That's how it got picked, you know. So it's really a unique machine that I hope to have it for a long, long time. The drivetrain was going to change out when I first bought the car from Kenny. And I was going to want to put a small Hemi in it, because I thought that would be kind of unique also. But the first show out, we've had people come over and congratulate us, because it took best in show outside. And I just asked them what they liked about the car. Figured how it was chopped, stretched out, lowered, whatever. And they said that underneath that hood, that flathead, it's a flathead 6 original engine, original 300-tree transmission. It's great on gas now. Glad I didn't put that Hemi in. And it's all original. Runs 56,000 miles on that original 1955 Plymouth engine. The interior of the vehicle is all customized by Grumpy's out of Ohio. He's no longer I would say that he's probably one of the last interiors that was done, and he's well known. It's out of a Cadillac Eldorado, all cut down to fit. It's all power. It's all roll and tuck with sort of to keep up with the outside, which is raspberry and white pearl. The interior on the sides is a white sort of leather look pearl effect, and in the side it's got like a bubblegum roll and pleated. So again, inside and out, the trunk is all done. Did many indoor shows in the winter. It's really a one-of-a-kind showpiece. We get the color combination, white and raspberry pearl, is cut on the car by a chrome strip that's off of 55 Pontiac. It's stretched, and he saw that much ahead that was the cut line for the paint. Above it's white pearl, below it's raspberry. And the girls, that's what they remark about. They said that's a pretty looking car. And so that's important. I think just it stands, the way it sits, the way that the back window is all out of a 48 Chevy Coupe that he just sawed off the piece off of the coupe, set it in this big old slot once he chopped it, and said, I think I can make that work. And sure and behold, he metaled it all in, pie cut, pancaked the roof, and it looks like factory. So it's just that there's so much done to the car, and it looks like you could probably go to the Jetsons and buy a streamlined car. It's just the stance, the way there's nothing gaudy, nothing protruding. It's smooth, sleek. That's a lot, but that's the car.
My name's Jim Schilling. My car's a 32 Plymouth Model PB, kind of a rare car. We had been looking for a car for over a year, and I actually found it on eBay, and it was in Harbor Creek, believe it or not. We went to look at it, and we're pretty happy with it, so we bought it. When we first got it, it was red with flames. It was a cool hot rod. And we kept it that way for a year, with the exception of making some changes to the interior. Then the next year we did a complete frame-off restoration. The frame-off restoration took approximately 6 months. The paint is it's 2010 Challenger High Performance Red. We decided to keep it all Mopar. The flames are Mopar paint, as a matter of fact. Okay, that too is all Mopar. It's a 346 pack. It was built by Krieger Race Engines. Engines and the transmission. There I go again. Transmission is an 833 4-speed. The rear end is an 8 3/4 323 gears. The suspension is a Fat Man Mustang 2 style front suspension. The rear suspension is a triangulated 4-length from JR Rod Shop. The grill shell and the springs were done at Paul's Custom Chrome in Evans City. The other stuff was done at Orr's Restoration and Advanced Custom Chrome, both in Erie. We got the car in 2009, so we've had it for 6 years, and we have a lot of fun with it. Well, I would like to have a Hemi in it. My wife disagrees because she said we put enough money into it, but I think I'm going to win out in the end, and we'll keep it forever.
My name is Phil Palmer. We're talking about a 1959 Chevrolet Suburban. We found the Suburban at a Mecum auction. Brought it back and took a good look at it to come up with what we wanted to do, and had a pretty neat little vision for it. The color of the vehicle was pretty much what it is now. It was in very good shape. It had been built years ago, probably, I'm gonna say probably 8 or 10 year old build, so to speak. And we wanted to give it a new, fresh look and update some stuff. So we cleaned it up, repainted it, changed the interior, changed the stance and the wheels, but pretty much left the the main body the way it should be from factory. We repainted the roof and the main body, the roof being a cream color and the body very similar to the color that the truck was when we got it. When we got the truck, it had a very good running small block Chevy in it. So we left the engine in, just cleaned it up, made sure that stuff was, tight, no leaks, no drips, no, misses in the, in the idle and stuff like that. But for the most part, we left the motor as is, made it so it would run good and drive down the road fantastic. The stance of the truck was very factory, very tall. We wanted to lower it, so what we did was we put lowering springs in the front, did a set of lowering springs in the rear. We did a C-notch on the rear frame to get it down to where we wanted it, and basically ran a factory style suspension with a mild lowering kit. The interior is where we spent most of our time. The seats were custom cut from a 88 Chevy pickup truck. The rear seat was handmade, and then we had them recovered by the upholstery barn in Northeast, and the headliner, the carpeting, the TV that's in the rear, and that was all done in-house. The dash, the door panels, all that, those are all factory. We've driven the Suburban everywhere. It's been to Columbus, it's been to Pittsburgh, it's been to Meadville, it's been all over the local shows. It is probably one of the most driven vehicles that we have. It goes down the road amazing. Everybody loves to ride in it. It gets a ton of attention, so we take it as much as we can, everywhere we can.
My name's Terry Watson, and I have a 1933 Ford Coupe. Now this is a 12th street rod that I've built. It's something that started, I think it's in my genes. I started as a kid putting model cars together, and it just evolved into full-size cars. Well, it's a 1933 Ford. I built several of them, and this particular one, because Pennsylvania had changed the fender laws, I was actually allowed to build a true hot rod with no fenders. And that's something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime, but finally came to fruition, and so now I'm building fenderless cars. It's just 300 horse, small block Chevy, turbo 350 transmission, Ford rear end, pretty much a cookie cutter type drivetrain, but it's dependable, gets good gas mileage, and I'm not afraid to go anywhere with it. It's got a traditional front suspension with the dropped axle, leaf spring. The rear end is set up differently with coilovers where the coilovers are not visible. I put them in front of the rear end so you wouldn't have to look at them, and gives it more of an older traditional look. I started doing interior for my own cars a few years ago, and starting to evolve into doing work for other people now. And I just know what I was looking for, but wasn't able to find it anywhere, so I just decided to do it myself, and it's kind of worked out. So. Well, it has the old bias ply tires on it, which are a little unique to drive on, but they're not as bad as I thought they would be. But there's definitely a big difference between radials and bias ply tires. For driving around town, I'll put up with it just because I like the look of the old tires. The old pie crust tires, I call them. Well, that was a tradition of the old Bonneville Sulflac cars that were filled up with louvers, and that was part of the theme I was trying to set with it, so. A friend of mine in Conneaut, Ohio has a louver press, and he stamped all the louvers in there for me, so. And also another friend of mine in Conneaut does all the paint work. Bill Herb is a good friend of mine, and we trade services. I do interior work for him, he does paint work for me, so it's good for both of us. So. I've been building these cars and selling them for quite a while, and this one here I've had for actually about 3 years now, which is one of the longest ones I've kept. I kind of enjoy the car. It like I said before, it's the fenderless car that I always wanted to build, and it just looks like a real hot rod, which is what I was going for, and I'm planning on keeping it. It won't be the last one I build, It's in my genes. I can't. I like the whole concept of taking a bunch of junk and turning it into something that everybody wants, So, therapy.
My name is Tim Nagel. My car is a 40 Chevy. It's a coupe. I found the car through my daughter, actually, down in Austin, Texas. My daughter used to work for Auto Trader, and she told me about it, and I called the guy up on it. It was a gentleman selling it, and it was he had posted an ad to go in the magazine, and 20 minutes later I owned it. When I got the car, it was just as nice as the person selling it said it would be. There was one dent in the front fender, and the rest of the car was pretty decent. There was no rust anywhere ever, and being in Central Texas, I was very happy with it. I was going to go down there and bring it back, but I figured it would take about 4 days, and I'd be missing at least a couple of days of work. So I just hired a contractor to bring it up, and the shipping was very reasonable on it, and it was a win-win for me that way. Basically, the car was built with me and my son. I contracted out a few things on it, and they went to local people. The paint job was done by a friend of mine, or my son's friend. His name is Dave Bruner. He owns a restoration shop in McCain, and he did the body and paint on it. Did a great job in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion too. The motor is a 400 small block Chevy. It's got it's bored out 30 over, and it's got a big stroker kit in it. So it's 434 cubic inches right now. It's pushing out about 550 horse. The transmission is it's a redone 400 turbo. The rear end is a 9-inch Ford out of a 62 Thunderbird. It's got 430 gears in it, and it's got a locker in it. It's the best it's ever done is 1130 at about 120 mile an hour. The front end is a straight axle with the original front springs on it. They've had a couple new leafs added into it, but it is a straight axle. It's not a drop or anything. And it's got Chevelle disc brakes on the front. Oh, it's got Vega steering in the front too, which makes it a lot safer at higher speeds, and it's a very positive type steering. I love it. Turned out real well. The interior is basically non-existent except for the seats in it. The seats are out of a 69 DZ Camaro. They belonged to a friend of mine, and he took them out, and he was going to he did put a different pair of bucket seats in it. And so I went up to him, confronted him on them. I wanted to buy them for my car. And he said, I'll sell them to you, but you've got to keep them in the car. So I said, not a problem, and they're still in it. They will not be sold. Well, back in the 60s, they used that style with the front end up in the air as a way to transfer the weight upon takeoff to the rear end to help it get better traction. And it worked to a degree, but the cars are so, they have such an air dam basically in the front because the air goes underneath the car. Sometimes at high speeds, they will get unstable. This one doesn't, it's not that fast. I do plan on keeping it for at least a while. I don't know if I'll keep it forever. I could. I've got 2 others that I'm keeping forever, so this could very easily stay with it.
My name is Calvin Sottle. I have a 1955 Chevy Model 210. I found my vehicle roughly a barn find. A person at work told me about it, and I picked it right up. The condition of the vehicle was rough. No floor, no trunk, fenders were rough. So I had to do a complete restoration. The vision was to make it kind of like a subtle 210 look with modern conveniences, I call them, and it turned out pretty good to me. The engine is a 2006 Corvette motor, but it's called old school. The old school is GM patented a kit that goes in front of the LS motor, and it gives you a gear to put on the cam to run a Ford distributor. And it's completely old school. It has no electronics, nothing but a battery and gasoline. The transmission, it's a 700 R4. It's completely rebuilt with the titanium clutches and anything else I could make it bulletproof. And the rear end, it's a Ford 9-inch, and it has 350 gears, and it also has the strange axles in it to make it more bulletproof. I went to a few car shows, and then I got a lead on a good interior person, and I went and talked to him at Ravenna, Ohio, and he gave me a good price, and he did all leather seats, the leather headliner, and the leather trunk, and it looks pretty sharp to me. Suspension, full air ride with a 4-link system. I've had this vehicle now for about 43 years. My first car show was Indianapolis Good Guys, and they allow you to take the car around 3 laps, and we did that, and it was just awesome to be on that track with the brickyard and all that. I usually try to upgrade something every winter. This year, I'm going to upgrade the front disc brakes to Wheelwood. Yeah, the color is it's a gold, and it has a little more metallic in it. The painter kind of helped me out there, and then the white is it's a pearl, but it has a little gold effect in it. So when the sun hits it, it kind of will pop out at you a little bit.
Classic cars all have a history, be it interesting or not. Some have achieved great things in their lives, such as competing in and winning races, expeditions, or endurance events, while others have overcome challenges that are far more mundane, but no less important to their owners. These machines were great enablers of a better life and provided mobility and freedom back in a time when such qualities were rare. They accompanied their owners on major life events and consequently became associated with those events. Classic cars all have a story to tell about what they have accomplished in their lives, where they've been, and why they're still in operation. The cracks in the leather or the scratches on the paint are seen by some as imperfections, but to aficionados of classic cars, these are a record of a car's history, adding to its character and chronicling its life. Thank you for tuning in to Custom Coupes and Classics. I'm your host, Tim Piazza, and until next time, keep on cruising.
This program is brought to you in part by Bonnell's Auto Group, including Bonnell's Collision, Bonnell's Auto Glass, Bonnell's Auto Sales, and Bonnell's Rod Shop. Information's at bonnellsauto.com.